Good morning. So, this is Chris's driving thoughts with diabetes. So, I was recently diagnosed with type 2 diabetes about 3 weeks ago now? Yeah, about 3 weeks ago. And it's been a bit of a roller coaster in my mind as far as how I deal with it, what it means, its impacts on me. It's type 2. So what that means is that my insulin just isn't as effective as it should be. And if I eat something with carbohydrates, which, so many things, almost everything has some carbohydrates. But the more carbohydrates I have, the more my blood sugar goes up because it converts the carbohydrates into glucose. Glucose is supposed to go into your cells. The insulin isn't doing that very effectively. And so, if uncontrolled, it will just continue to get worse and worse. So, I met with my doctor. I chatted with him online because there were some vacations, both his and mine, and just schedules and all, trying to get that worked out. Just met with him last Thursday. And leading up to that, for about 2 weeks, I had been testing my blood sugar before almost every meal. Especially that first week. It was like, no. Every meal, before and after. And when I went to bed, and when I woke up. And, then once I got more comfortable with my numbers and how my body was reacting, I was like, okay, now I'm going to poke less often. Like, I dropped my wake up one because, honestly, I was usually getting breakfast pretty early. And so I was like, they're so close together, I'll just merge them. And then sometimes I'd be getting my dinner so late, well, I'd be going to bed so early, really, that I was like, well, my after dinner one and my going to bed one are so close. Again, we'll merge them. And then I started to forget. And something keeps beeping in my bag here, and I still don't know what it is. But anyways, I would forget to take my blood sugar before I started eating, and I'd be eating like halfway through the meal. I'd be like, carb. I forgot completely and totally to, measure this. And especially when, like last week, a friend and I, my best friend, we were going to eat at a local pizza place. We've been eating there for a while. We really enjoy it. And I love supporting that local business. They also have a wings place. It's also really close to us. And my family loves the wings place. And so I'm like, yeah, I want to support them. But pizza is carbs, guys. Like the red sauce, that's carbs. The vegetables, now those are good carbs. Meaning, well, and even the red sauce is not the best. It's definitely not the best because they'll have sugar. Sugar is a bad carb. Now, when I say bad carb, I don't mean bad carb like don't ever eat it, because in fact, that wouldn't necessarily be at all the goal of any of this. It's more, I'm just slowly turning this thing. Anyways, it's more control your blood sugar level than anything. There, fix the white balance. Anyways, control your blood sugar level so that you know where it's at, if it's safe for you or not. And you can have sugar. I mean, I could have a teaspoon of sugar. I'll see it hit, on my little monitor on my watch, for my CGM. It'll eventually spike in and go like, hey, looks like you had some blood sugar that went up to this level. Okay, cool. Like, I could do that. And if I was even concerned, I could go for a stiff walk. Or, they're not called stiff walks. That sounds wrong. Brisk walk. Yeah. Anyway, brisk walk or short run or jog, or something that uses the glucose in your cells, so that now your cells are more willing now to take that insulin in with the sugar. Anyways, I could do that. I'm not on insulin. I won't be on insulin for, ideally, ever, and if necessary, at least not for a very long time. I spoke with my friend. I educated myself like crazy. It helped that I was getting up at 4 a.m. every morning And so I was like, well, since I'm up and I can't get back to sleep, I may as well, learn more about this disease. And I did. I learned a lot. I educated myself. I just recently completed a 2-class series at Kaiser on diabetes. I knew most of the stuff that was there, and I had just learned it in these last 2-3 weeks. I'd learned it though already before the class. It was useful to have the class though. It was useful to hear some things confirmed, and to hear the numbers that they're using. I'm not sure I entirely agree with the numbers that they're using, but then also I'm trying to lose weight, and so therefore I would be on the low end of all of those scales. And in fact, I was doing great. I think I do better when I'm either traveling or when I am, or during the work week at losing the weight, because I'm eating slightly healthier, especially when I'm traveling, because then it's so much easier. You're spending money like crazy, but you're eating at Chili's, you're eating at these different places, and it's like, yeah, I need lots of the veggies and not so much of the rice. And so that's been a journey for me, and I have lost some weight, which is actually really pretty cool. I want to keep losing the weight, honestly. So if nothing else, it's certainly gotten me down to a level I haven't been at in 4 years for weight, and I am close to hitting 200, which I haven't been at. I haven't been at 200. I'm at 205 now. If I hit 200, I think that would be the first time since 2014 that I've been down that low. But anyways, weight loss it's a journey, and it's not a flat line or a slope. It most certainly has bumps and all sorts of crazy stuff that happens as you lose weight. And you have to be careful as a diabetic, because while diabetic ketoacidosis is not commonly found in type 2 diabetics, the idea that you are in a calorie deficit, so your body is burning fat, well, if you burn enough of it, you start releasing ketones, and then you go into DKA, and it's like, should be careful about that. So I am keeping my eye on that. And now that I have a CGM, which I have there, I can see exactly how my blood sugars are and whether or not what I'm eating is helping. Which means now I can go eat at unusual places for the last 2 weeks. Like the last 2 weeks, I have been super strict on, like, okay, I can go to Chili's. I can get the steak. Usually I hold the butter anyways. And I get like broccoli and we'll go it over now. Broccoli, and I usually get the black beans, no pico. I just don't like the flavor of the pico on it. It changes the whole black bean flavor, and I don't like it. The black beans, they're not necessarily the best carbs per se, but they're actually not that bad because it's lots of fiber, which just helps in general in digestion. I've had to learn about simple carbs versus complex carbs, and loading up on those complex, not starchy carbs. Starchy carbs, potato, even sweet potato, corn and peas are kind of like the big ones. It's like, I love mashed potatoes. I love fries with I love ranch with fries added, but fries with ranch is usually how you place the order. Mashed potatoes, yeah. Now, that being said, for a while I was like, I can't eat those anymore. Like, I can't eat those anymore. Now I can. Now that I have a CGM, I can literally, and in fact, Saturday night, Friday night, Thursday night, one of these nights, recently, no, it was after Friday night, because I had the CGM, so maybe it was Saturday night, I had mashed potatoes. Which before, I wouldn't have had, because I was like, that's a lot of carbs, right? Like, it's probably too many carbs. No, I had that, I had broccoli, and I had steak. The steak had effectively no carbs. The broccoli had some carbs. Not a lot, actually, even, funny enough, but it did have some carbs, but it also was relatively healthy. And then you have the mashed potatoes, and it's like, and this is the stuff I enjoy. And I could watch my numbers on my CGM and be like, okay, cool. Where is it going? You know, what's the rise look like based on the meal I just ate? And it was completely in line with very healthy meals that, you know, I didn't have a problem with. It did not go over the numbers that, you know, my doctor has sort of given me and said, hey, you know, stay with it. Here's the numbers. Luckily, my numbers are all standard. So, like all the apps and all already know the numbers. But I guess the component I really wanted to get to was diabetes restricts your life in a lot of little ways. But having a CGM has given me back some of that freedom. I can have something. I can have a candy bar. But I'm going to watch my blood sugar. Not measure the carbs and be like, oh, this is 32 carbs. Okay, well, 32 grams of carbs. Well, okay, cool. So if I pair it with this much broccoli and this much this and this much that, I can include it into a meal. Or, oh, as a snack, maybe I have like half the bar. And then the other half is carrots. Yay. You know, yes, certainly that might be healthier than, say, eating the entire candy bar. And that's fine. Part of what I need to do is change my mental view of how I eat and what I eat to be like, yeah, I like carrots. I do like carrots. Okay, well, what if I added a little bit of ranch? The ranch isn't the healthiest thing in the world. But if it makes me happier to eat carrots, I'm more likely to eat the carrots, which means I'm more likely to be compliant with where we need my blood sugar to be. But having a CGM allows me to, say, eat at a pizza place and be like, okay, let's try it without eating the crust. If I just don't eat the crust, the outside crust, obviously the bottom crust, you eat, but if I don't eat the outside crust, let's see how that affects my blood sugar. And now I can go, yeah, because it's more of a New York style anyways. It doesn't have a really thick crust. I used to love the thick crusts. And now it's like, well, I'm not going to eat this thick crust probably. Why? Because it's really just a whole bunch of carbs and actually gives me no benefit. And I understand that. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I can give that up. When I go to Bojo's, I'm going to have a harder time with that. My wife and I were just talking about, hey, we can go to Bojo's, except, you know, you have diabetes, so you're not going to want their pizza. And I was like, well, I still want their pizza, you know, but maybe we measure and we monitor, you know, how that crust is affecting me. But with the CGM, it's like, no, I'm not playing a guessing game, and it doesn't hurt to get the data, which sucks. Like, and the other problem is, I really only use my left hand for the blood draws. My right hand, I don't know what depth. I hate pain, and I have to use 2.5 on this hand for these fingers. I tried 3 on my right, and it's still not enough. And I'm squeezing, and I'm like, I need the darn blood drop. Come on, come out, you stupid thing. So I still don't get that one. But, yeah, I've had to use 3, and it usually doesn't even get me enough of a blood drop. Like, it's not enough of a hole, and it's like, crap. I'm going to have to go to 3.5 if I'm using my right hand, and that's very frustrating. So I end up just using my left hand, and then, you know, poking bottom and top and bottom and top and bottom and top, and the forefinger doesn't. Also, it's a little thicker, I suspect. So, you know, not so much that one, and so it ends up, you know, like I move around even on the bottom or top of each finger just to try to avoid the spots I've already been poking. And it's like, can you imagine 20 years of this? I see people who are on like YouTube or TikTok, and they've been poking themselves for 20 years, and you look and they've got like just dots all over the fingers where it's like they've done it so much in the same spot that it's scar tissue essentially. And it's like, I don't want that. That's a lot of pain. I'm sorry, I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. This thing, the CGM went in, and it has a needle. Or I guess it's actually a filament, but it sure looks like a needle. It screams needle. I don't understand how it's not a needle. But I also don't understand how I don't feel it. You don't feel it. You don't feel it go in. I fully expected pain, a pinch at least. But no. None of that. It was completely and totally surprising. It blew my mind that there was no pain. I didn't feel it going at all. Like, holy cow. It was good thing I did it at night, because I had the mental dissonance of like cognitive dissonance. The cognitive dissonance of like, I just stuck a giant needle in me that if it were a splinter that was even half as tall, it would have hurt. And yet I stuck one in and it didn't hurt. And oh, by the way, I have data continuously every minute. It's measuring, which is freaking awesome. Now, the problem is these CGMs are gatekeeped. I do not know why the FDA is like, oh, you need to have a prescription for this. Why? I'm sorry. If somebody's diabetic, that should be sufficient. And some doctors will be like, oh yeah, you're diabetic, let me issue you a CGM prescription. I was afraid that mine was going to be one of those where, no, you're not type 1, you're not on insulin, so I'm not going to write you a prescription. Kaiser won't pay for it for me because I'm not on insulin. And I'm like, yeah, the whole idea is to not be to the point where you need the insulin. Come on, insurance. Apparently, in America, at least most health insurance just won't. They won't even pay for it if you're not on insulin, of one kind or another. And I'm like, seriously? You're horrible people. You're horrible people. You should be trying to prevent the progression of this disease. And for that matter, pre-diabetics should also be able to get it, even if only for a short period of time, to help them see what their glucose levels are like and how what they eat impacts that before they become full-blown diabetic. But anyways, but there is an over-the-counter CGM that's coming out, and that one is intended more for people like me who are type 2 diabetic. Only measures once every 15 minutes, so it doesn't need as big of a battery and all that fun jazz. It's simpler to manufacture. And I'm like, that's actually really great. Personally, I love mine, and unless the price difference is huge, I'm probably just going to keep getting the Libre 3 because honestly, I love it. But I don't really like that spot, so I'll park over here in this spot. Anyways, that being said, the Libre, what is it, Stello? I think that's the name, is Stello. Oh, I am nowhere near my spot. I am excited for it to come out because honestly, every type 2 diabetic should have a CGM, pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, at least at first. At least at first. And yeah, you should be monitoring it. And yes, you should have an app on your phone and it's monitoring you. I went for a walk and my blood sugar went below 70. My phone goes off, and then another app on my phone goes off because I have a Night Scout instance so that I can get my data out of it. So the Libre app was going off, the Night Scout app was going off, and the X-Strip was going off at different times, and it was crazy because at first everybody was like, we were walking, and the guy, my friend was like, is that your phone? And I was like, that doesn't sound like my phone. I've never had the sound come out of my phone. And we were walking right past some cars. We're not in the best neighborhood in Denver. I'm like, it's probably just the cars, beeping to let us know, like, hey, there's an alarm system. That's a thing. I've experienced that. And then we keep walking, and I pull out my phone. I'm like, oh my God, it is my phone. Oh, my blood sugar is below 80 at the time. And it kept dropping. And kept dropping. And kept dropping. Because remember, there's a delay. Because it's measuring the fluid that's, right under your skin, not your blood. So there's a little bit of delay there. And so it just keeps dropping. And by the time we get to the car, it's like 68. And we're talking about this on the way back. And my friend, who's a doctor of nursing practice, board certified, geriatric and general practice or something like that. He is experienced. He teaches nurses, which is freaking awesome. And he's like, that's weird, the medications you're on shouldn't be causing that. And I'm like, I'm on an extended release medication. It's not the medication that's causing this. It's the walk we just took. It's got to be. That's the only correlation. And I had a relatively healthy dinner with actually not a lot of carbs. Mostly because there just weren't a lot of carbs to be had. A lot of it was protein. It was Indian food. The carbs that were to be had honestly didn't look appealing at all to me. They didn't have, if they'd had the broccoli out, I would have eaten the broccoli. I would have put lots of broccoli on the plate. But they didn't have it out that day. They had something else out that I looked at and went, that's disgusting. Oh, I did have some beans. I had some veggies. I had some, just not as much as I normally might have. I might have loaded up my plate more with vegetables. And so, yeah, I was probably just a little low on carbs anyways. And then we went for a walk. And so that makes sense. I'm like, okay, it all adds up. And I even measured, when I got back home, I measured, my blood sugar was perfectly fine by then. It was trending above 70 before I got in the car even. And by the time I left, it was above 80, like everything was fine. By the time I got home, it was back up in the like 100s, and I measured it, and the CGM was within 3 points of the glucometer. So, yeah, everything appears to be accurate. I didn't take my glucometer with me. I thought for the first time, hey, this is a day I don't need to bring this with me when I go out to eat or do something because I got the CGM. This is so awesome. Like, I'm not tied to the thing, you know? It doesn't have to take space up in my pocket. And now I'm like, well, you know, maybe I should have brought it anyway. I could have just tested right there and been like, yep, it's this level, you know. But yeah, I wouldn't have had that notice. Now, that being said, I didn't feel faint. I didn't feel lightheaded much. I often feel a little bit like just odd in the head, and so I can't quite pin down, is this lightheadedness or is this just me feeling weird? I didn't feel any symptoms, but the thing is, you don't always. And it's possible that, like, if we'd continued walking, and we were already on our way back, but if I'd continued walking, my blood sugar would have dropped even further. We won't know until I get more data, until I do more stuff, and I'm using CGM, and then go, okay, cool, this is how it's affecting me. Now I understand, hey, I need to, like, I've got hard candy in the back of the car that I got there when I got my diagnosis, and I did my research, and it said, yep, you should always have, some kind of hard candy, sugar candy to, so that if you do have low blood sugar and you need to a little pick me up really quick, you can do it. I was like, okay, cool, no problem. That's easy enough to do. So I keep them in my car because I'm generally never going to be too far away from my car, in a situation. But still continuing to learn. I think CGM should be available for every type 2 diabetic. Automatically, and I don't even see why CGMs are gatekept at all. I do not understand why. And if it's being gatekept because the manufacturers don't want to manufacture enough of them, fork that. That's not a choice. That's not something the FDA should be gatekeeping. Not at all. I understand why the FDA. I don't always agree with it entirely, but I understand why they gatekeep some of the stimulant medications for ADHD, which I also have, and I take those medications. I understand that at least, okay? Because people could be harmed if they're taking medication that they don't need. Who's going to be harmed from taking a CGM? How are you going to harm them? It doesn't inject anything. It just monitors your blood glucose, talks to an app, and you're making decisions based off of that, which means you're making decisions based off of that. I don't see it. I don't agree with it, personally, at all. But I am happy to hear there's an over-the-counter one, because more type 2 diabetics will get it. It wouldn't work for type 1s or type 2s with insulin, because you need the quicker feedback. And in fact, there's even this whole loop concept where your glucometer or your CGM can actually talk to your insulin pump, which is great. I think that's a freaking awesome thing. There's a whole community of people. We are not waiting, I think, is their hashtag. They're also known as the Night Scout community, because what they do is they built an open source app that will get the data from your various vendors, systems, whatever, and then allow you to use it in different ways, both with apps, watches. I literally have a little watch face here that has, you can't really see it very well, but there's this whole graph of where my blood sugar has been. If it starts to go red, it goes red, like all of these things. Like right now I'm at 117. I can glance down and see that. Do you know how empowering that is? There is no Freestyle Libre watch app or widget or watch face or anything on the watch whatsoever. I'd have to pull out my phone. I then have to launch the app. And then I can see it, and then I can only see what they want me to see. I see a little bit of data. I don't see a lot. And it gets rid of the noise, which means that you see less of the data. Because I've actually confirmed that. Looking at the actual Night Scout data and then looking at that app, I'm like, this gives me so little data. Now I get to a point, don't drown in data. Absolutely. But I'm a CTO of a data and marketing company. I love data. And the average person, yeah, the app would be fine, but they should also have a watch app. They should have a watch app, a watch face, a watch widget, all that stuff, so that you can then do it the way you want, as opposed to the way they want, which frustrates me when people are like, nope, you can only use it this one way because that's all we ever think that anybody would ever need. Just like with CGMs. type 2 diabetics would benefit from CGMs that are not, the ones that are not on insulin. We still benefit from having a CGM because now I can eat something. And somebody's like, oh, I just picked it up from the bakery. I'm not sure what it has in it, how much sugar, how many carbs. I can be like, okay, cool. I'll have the smallest piece that you can give me, and then I'm going to monitor. And if in 15, 20 minutes I need to go for a walk, then I go for a walk. And if 15, 20 minutes later I come back for more, then I come back for more. That is hugely empowering, because otherwise you're going to look at diabetes and go, there's a whole bunch of things I can't eat anymore. Like ever again. It's very easy to go down that road. That it's a distress road, really. It's very easy to fall into that trap. And a CGM gives you the data that you need to say, no, I'm not going to have a can of Pepsi unless I'm like really low. But Diet Pepsi, okay, sure. Which I was drinking Diet Pepsi before this, but I could have a candy bar. In fact, I had a candy bar. In fact, I think I have a candy bar somewhere in the car that I wanted to take in. No, I ate it last night. That's right, I ate it last night, and it's a normal candy bar. It's like Hershey's with almonds. And I enjoy those. I enjoy those so much. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to eat these anymore, am I? No, I can. And I can monitor my blood sugar to know, do I need to then do something about having eaten that or not? It's freaking awesome. It's freaking awesome. I love it. I originally thought when I talked to my doctor, yeah, I'm only going to want a CGM for like a couple months. Just get my diet in tune and just kind of make sure that, everything's safe. And honestly, then I can try some of my local places so I can still go there as opposed to only the big chain restaurants. And what surprised me was he said, oh, I'm all for it. Go for it. I will happily write you a paper prescription. Kaiser won't cover it, but I'll give you a paper prescription. Take it to, wherever you want to take it. Get your freestyle. He's like, I'm a fan of CGMs and of people using CGMs, especially where it helps them be compliant and stay within their goals. And I'm like, yes, I will happily. Had to take it 3 different places, but the third place finally had the Libres. And I was like, great, I need 2. And yeah, that is so exciting. I've got the overpatch, whatever they're calling it, applied. This one was a little odd to apply it, stretchy in weird ways. But that being said, I got to go in here shortly. I've got like 4 more, and then I'm actually thinking I'm probably just going to continue on CGM at least for now, just because of how empowering it is for me. And so I'll probably order a whole bunch more and continue to do more research. What can I do with diabetes, like within the diabetes? How can I measure if it's progressing or not? Things like that. So I'm very excited, and I'm going to head in now, put my stuff down, go run some meetings, and I hope you guys all have a great day.